Yeah, we are in the place to be.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Kirk Anderson Show. I'm Kirk Anderson, and today I have two very special guests with me. One of them is running around my studio chasing a ball. We'll meet Ikar in just a moment. But I have Officer LeBrun with the St. Croix Falls Police Department, who is now the canine officer for the St. Croix Falls PD. And so welcome to my studio. And if we want to take a minute to introduce Ikar real quick, and then we can get to the Q&A that we have laid out for you. And for you that are watching, feel free to put on any questions in the comments, and I'll try and add those as part of the show. But tell us a little bit about Ikar and his history. He's not a first-time canine, so you're a new partner for him, but he's got more experience than you. But tell us a little bit about Ikar, his history, and what it's like for him on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. So Ikar is a purebred German Shepherd dog. He's approximately 6 years old. January 14th, he'll turn 16. He's day-to-day life. He lives at home with me and my family. He's got outdoor kennel, heated doghouse, kind of the luxuries for most outside dogs. Take him all with me on my days off, train with him day to day. Take him to work, we train, we work together. History of him, like you said, he'd have a previous handler. I got him when he was about 4 years old. Went through a series of several hundred hours of training with him. Recently just graduated that training not too long ago. So we've been on the road for about 2-3 weeks now. And the training involves physical stuff for both me and the dog, narcotics training, apprehension. Guys in those big poofy suits, and they come up and bite them and apprehend them. But yeah, let's see if we can come over. Ike, hey buddy.
All right, let's see if we can meet Ikar.
See if we can do this without knocking anything over. Come on, buddies. Come on.
Yeah, Ikar's got a lot of energy, so
come on.
let's see if
For an old man, he's got a lot of energy. Come on, buddies.
Let's see if I can. There you go.
Yeah, well, here's Ike. He's not this obedient. He's just coming to me because I got chicken treats. But yeah, here he is. He's got a very beautiful coat. He's friendly for the most part for most people. That of course, unless you're doing something wrong. But yeah, he doesn't have much gray on him for how old he is. He's very, very calm and collective at home. Very decent with kids. Doesn't like crowds. It's one thing Ikar's never liked. Is big crowds or a lot of people. But in a small setting like this, he's always been very calm and collective, and obviously he's not, attacking Kirk right now, so we're good.
Yeah. So I did have some experience with Ikar as the mayor of St. Croix Falls. He might be hooked on your mic too. As the mayor of St. Croix Falls, I was asked to do a National Day Out, and the National Day Out people said, hey, let's get the mayor to put on the arm and let the dog chew on him. So I was a little nervous to bring him back into the studio, but he doesn't seem to remember me. At least he's not trying to chew my arm off. So
no, and
so
to these dogs, when you wear in a sleeve or in a suit or anything like that, it's all supposed to be play to them. It's not supposed to be a super aggressive thing. It's supposed to be fun for them, and for the most part it is. They enjoy it. They don't necessarily look at that person and think, well, I'm going to attack that guy next time I see him. You're basically looked at as almost a toy to them, for the most part.
Well, cool. If you have any questions for Micah or about Ikar or about being a police officer, please put them in the comments, and we're excited about having him. So as I said, I am the mayor in St. Croix Falls, and so I do the Kirk Anderson Show with Dryden Wire kind of as a side gig, but my daily deal in St. Croix Falls is as a small business owner. and then also doing marketing and things like that for small businesses, but also then just for fun, I do shows on Dryden Wire. And so we'll see if Ikar settles down and lays down or plays with a treat, but we'll nervously watch.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, no problem. No problem. Yeah.
so what is it like for an officer? Now, you got him when he was 4, but typically an officer that is assigned to the canine, job, they would get him at what age? Pre-trained or straight out of the box? Like, how does a canine program start?
So from my experience so far, I'm still very new at this. Most of their individuals I went through my class time with, most of their dogs are between the ages of 12 to 16 months. And of course, Ikar and all the other dogs I was actually in training with all came from the Czech Republic. There's a breeder down there that the trainer that we went through gets his dogs, been doing it for over 35 years. Very well bred dogs. So they're between the ages of 12, 16 months.
Okay.
They have, depending on what the person who had the dog over in that country did with the dog, they have a certain level of training when they come over here. So they're not brand new puppies when they come over here. They have a little bit of training, a little bit of agitation training, this and that, a little bit of tracking training. Just depends on the breeder and what they're able to do with the dogs. Typically a new handler would get a new dog, a puppy. It doesn't.
Adjust your mic. Someone's saying that.
Oh.
Turn up your microphone. Just put it up higher.
Test. Is that good for everybody?
Yeah, speak louder. These mics aren't
Okay,
the
sure,
greatest
sure.
for volume.
Um,
So you get the dog from the Czech Republic. He or she comes over and is pre-trained to a certain level, and then you have to kind of be acclimated together. So they send you off to a training school, presumably in the Twin Cities or in Eau Claire, or where
the
they.
one I was in was in Blaine, Minnesota. So
In Blaine.
so somewhat close to the cities. Yeah.
Okay. And then what kind of training do you go through? Like you said, hundreds of hours, like 500, 300?
Me personally, I have about 600 to 700 hours total training with the dog and myself. That's both, a little bit of class time, but the majority of the training is you with the dog, learning the dog. The training really is for the dog to get them up to standards where they need to be, but also for the handler, obviously, because, when you first start out, you don't even know how to hold your leash. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of different systems to this thing, and but it was a fun experience. It was about 4 or 5 months total that I was through the training, Monday through Friday, 10 to 12 hour days, depending on, but no, I enjoyed it, and it's been fun for me so far.
So I was part of the city council when Ikar first came to St. Croix Falls, and this was a unique situation because the police chief, Aaron Murphy, wanted to do a canine program. We have a fairly good sized department for the size of our city. So in our department, we have the chief, we have a canine program now, we have a school resource officer. We also have just officers that patrol, and then we focus on some child sex crime type things where we have an officer that's trained in that. So how did you decide to go into the canine part? I mean, are you a dog person, or was this kind of a new love?
It's something I kind of wanted to do at the start of my career. I'd seen canine officers, seen what they do with their dogs. I just thought it was super cool. Obviously, when I started to be a police officer, narcotics was a big thing for me. I liked the hunt of that, finding narcotics, getting them off the street, especially near my own community. And the dog, obviously, just that next level to that part of your career. I guess, to be honest, it wasn't necessarily something I was actually looking at right at the moment when I had gotten Ikar. But after some consideration and some talks with the chief, just kind of decided that it was something right for me, something I wanted to try out, definitely. And so far, it's something I want to stick with for a long time. So.
Yeah, so back to getting the dog, one of the unique things about St. Croix Falls Dog is that the police chief and the department really built this themselves and raised all of the money through donations, created a nonprofit, got a lot of buy-in from local businesses who donated things. We had, I think, the outdoor kennel. It was something that was built by a company and donated, I think. Vet services are donated, food, and I think we raised over $50,000 to get Ikar, get the training, get the vehicle at no taxpayer expense, which is pretty unique from a mayor's perspective, that the department would take that on themselves. And so now that Ikar's back in the saddle and working the streets again, I don't know what the current funding is in the nonprofit, but I would imagine that that's going to be something that we'll look at in the future as to how to continue to fund that. But I just give a thumbs up to the St. Croix Falls Police Department for having the vision to say, hey, we're a border town. We live on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. We're an hour from the Twin Cities. We have a lot of traffic that's coming through. Unfortunately, some of that traffic includes people that have ill will to do crimes, particularly bringing narcotics from the big Twin Cities to small town rural Wisconsin. So what kind of success has Ikar and you in your 3 weeks found in regards to being able to interact with the public?
As far as on the street or public view, or I guess what you...
I know Ikar in his tenure before he got back on the street had several narcotics busts with meth and heroin and things like that.
Sure.
Is that kind of the focus right now for what he's doing?
Yeah, mainly the focus, I mean, he's trained in apprehension, finding people, tracking, so if there's a lost person or a child or a lost elderly person, he'll be able to track them in the woods dead of winter, that kind of sort of stuff. But my main focus as of right now, well, all that stuff, God forbid, is not happening, is narcotics, locating narcotics. And in the last couple weeks, we've had a meth bust, got some methamphetamine out of the vehicle. That was all in this guy. Not really much on my end on that. He's got the nose for it, so he found all that. But that's, in the last couple weeks, that's been about it for him so far. I'm happy to say it's few and far between that we get that, which is a good sign. I actually can't say that our numbers for that are slightly down. I've actually heard from some individuals that they try and, those certain individuals who stay out of our area just because they know that, there is a dog and there's people who are proactive and actively seek that out and don't want that coming through our community. So far that's about all me and Ikar have done, but it's a little bit for what's going to come. I plan on pushing it hard and trying to get as much of the dope off the streets as I can. Yeah,
Renee asks if most of the dogs are male. Is there a sex thing with the dogs that are preferable to male or female?
Yeah, so great question, Renee. So most of the dogs that I was with and was told that were there in the past, they're mainly all male, and that's specifically just because of their drive and their aggression. Females don't have the same amount of aggression as the male dogs do, obviously. But especially for the apprehension work, for the narcotics portion of it, females sometimes are the better route because they're calmer. They're able to think a little bit better, and that's what you want in a good narcotics dog, is a dog that can think methodically and work through a problem rather than just crazy all the time. So majority of police canines are males.
So you can't see the dog. He's playing with the ball, but as soon as he came into the studio in my office, he methodically checked every corner, sniffed everything out, and he didn't bark, for anybody who was wondering.
Nope, not a big barker.
So he's doing his job even though he's not necessarily working, and that's really cool. His training is very evident. He's got energy, which is good,
and he enjoys it.
You don't want a lazy dog, but he is finding joy in just sniffing everything, which is totally a dog thing. So
absolutely.
So that's great. There are search and rescue dogs, and then there's drug dogs. Is it hard to put the two together and have like a combination?
It's a lot to keep up on. Like I said, I'm still very new at this. Other handlers might have a different perspective on it, but it is a lot to keep up on if you're strictly a narcotics, canine. It's all you do. You train to find dope and everything else. When you're a dual purpose, so you do apprehension and tracking. There's other stuff that goes into it, and a lot more training hours. I wouldn't say it's necessarily more difficult for the dog, because these dogs are incredibly intelligent. They're not dumb, and a lot of times they know what you're asking, and they just don't do it, just because
Right.
it's just one of the days they just don't want to do something.
Sure.
And so yeah, I wouldn't say it's more difficult, but it's just definitely something more for the handler to do. But for the dog's point of view, it's a walk in the park for them when they're in the mood to be doing it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So.
Yeah. So how do you encourage them to get in the mood to do it? Like, they're at home, they're relaxing. It's, they're off duty just like you're off duty. You're not expecting them to go out and do work. But when they come to work, like, what's the motivation for Ikar? Is it food? Is it praise? Is it, just revving them up?
For Ikar, he knows as soon as he's in that car, just about he's going to work, and he's going to go do the stuff that he loves. For a new dog, yeah, a lot of praise. The handler's energy and their attitude plays a big part on these dogs' emotions. What I've always been told throughout my training is that when you're praising your dog, if you don't, sound like a little girl when you're screaming and praising them, then you're not doing it right.
Okay.
They want you to be very excited, very, very animated. It makes them feel good about what they're doing and feel like that they're doing a good job.
Good.
But yeah, so for Ikar anyways, as soon as I get him in the car, he's amped up, he's excited, he's growling in like a happy way, he's howling a little bit in the back of the car, and he's ready to go. So.
Yeah. So we're in a community in St. Croix Falls that is part of a bigger community in Polk County, and there are some other departments that have had dogs in the past. Amory had a canine. I don't know if they currently do. I know that their canine passed away
Yes,
a while back. Osceola had a canine. That program ran out of funding, and I know Polk County currently has a dog. I met two
actually,
dogs.
Yes.
So at times, do you do mutual aid with the county if their two dogs are off or unavailable, and vice versa if we have a situation where you're off or away or whatever? Would we have some kind of a mutual aid agreement that would allow for us to utilize each other?
Yeah.
Or if Osceola needed a dog because of a missing person, would they call St. Croix Falls and say, hey, we need your dog for whatever issue?
Yeah, and it would all be on a situational basis. There's been times that I've called the county for their dogs before I had Ikar. We work really well with that. I haven't had the honor of training with those individuals yet. I look forward to doing that. But yeah, it's if there's no dogs out in the county, if someone needs one, they would call me to wherever they needed me. I don't foresee that really happening too often with two dogs out in the county. But it's nice to know that there's another dog available. Obviously, we don't need to call for a dog anymore. If they're busy on something else, there's another dog available. So having multiple agencies and multiple dogs within the county is very helpful, just because some nights there might be 3 or 4 things going on that might require a dog. It's rare, but it can happen, and in that instance, it's good to actually have one.
Well, how are you? I don't have your treats.
But yeah.
So with regards to the other agencies then, do they go to the same amount of training, I assume, and do you run into them at training, or is it pretty individualized?
There's several different training agencies, really 2 main ones within this general area. I believe their 2 went to they did go to a different one besides me, and they went before me. So no, I didn't run into them during that initial training, but it's possible in the future when it's called certifying, where you go to they call it a trial. You go take your dog, basically you demonstrate they're able to do everything that the United States requires for a dog to be considered a police canine. So at those trials, there's hundreds of different people from different agencies, that are going there to recertify their dog, and you definitely run into people that you knew in the past and know currently.
That's cool. So from a day-to-day standpoint, the dog works with you, and you share a car. You have a special vehicle. So you have a SUV, and it has the safety features for air conditioning to turn on, and you have a door button that opens the door if you needed your assistance. That was all taken care of through donations.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
And so that's really cool. What does a day look like for you and your canine partner?
For work-wise, head out to his kennel, give him some food before we head into work, so he's not working out a full stomach. Dogs can have something what's called torsion twist, is where their stomachs will actually twist, and it's very deadly to dogs. So you kind of want to keep them not necessarily empty stomach, but eat before you start working in case they got to run hard or play hard or something like that, so they're not having that issue. So I'll feed him, take him in the car with me. We'll head into the city. Head to the office, do my paperwork and such and such. If it's a slow night, I might go out and lay a few tracks for him to practice on, hide some dope somewhere to have him try and find. Don't do too much of the apprehension work, just because Iker's always been very good at that, has a very good aggression level when it comes to that. So we don't do too much training on that. And that also requires usually a second officer with me to train that, just so I have a quote-unquote suspect to train on.
Sure.
To have him chased down. But yeah, that's pretty much the day-to-day. Most days are pretty slow. Again, it depends on who's in town and who's not. But yeah.
So do you have special breaks and things that you have to work into your day to allow obviously the dog has to use the bathroom like everybody else, where you have to do certain things? I think that canines get like an extra half hour or something to take care of the dog, or you tell me.
Yeah, it's about half an hour every day. I get kind of leave or come in a little late or whatever, or leave a little early, just kind of the time for the dog. I try just to work that in throughout my shift. And as far as going to the bathroom, he's old enough now and knows enough. He lets me know. I don't have to worry about him doing anything in the kennel in the back of the car. He'll let me know when he's ready to go. But other than that, I try to keep him out as much as I can out of the car, because we want to sit in the kennel in the car all day. He does enjoy it, though. He does lay down. He falls asleep back there most nights. But no, I try to keep him active, because it's, it can get boring sometimes. It gets boring for me, so I want to make sure it's still fun for him, so that at the moment that we need him, he's amped up and he's ready to go.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about your desire to be a police officer. I think you wanted to go right out of high school or college. You were amped up to get into that. What's your background? You're a young police officer, ambitious enough to take on a canine. So what made you want to become a police officer?
Probably the general answer you hear from a lot of people. It's just something I always wanted to do. I always had a desire to do it, like helping people. I like the kind of mystery of it, like the investigation side of things, of solving a problem. I enjoy that. But yeah, right out of high school, I started college. I was just about 18 years old. Started college a little early, got through the academy, and I started doing this when I was 19. So I got into it very young, which a lot of people are doing now, just because it's a good career to get into. Numbers are low for recruitment. There's a lot to be said about why that is. I always try to encourage young people that have an interest in it and to get into it. If they want to start it with a small city, or go to Minneapolis if they want to, or Eau Claire, or work for a county. You got to start somewhere. But once you're in it, most people just they fall in love with it. It's an amazing job. The people that you get to meet, the opportunities that you get to have, such as working with a dog. What other career do you have that you can have a dog with you all day at work? And play with him and do that kind of stuff. But yeah, that was kind of my intro to it, and something that I just kind of wanted to do. And so far, it's been very enjoyable for me, and I don't see myself quitting anytime soon.
So you talk about recruitment numbers being low. That's something that I think is pretty well known. Police officers in the last few years have taken one on the chin, and a lot of negative publicity. My experience with officers is that 99.99% of them are great, that they are wanting to just get home safe at the end of the night. Obviously, the one issue or two issues that you hear about are the ones that are the focus, and that can make it really tough, especially when like politicians or groups come after you. That's unfortunate because I think it really busts the morale of the good officers that want to do the right thing and are excited about doing the right thing. Sorry if our cameras move.
He's playing.
He's got a ball he's excited about. So for a new officer who might be thinking about, or a new college student who might be thinking about going into the field, do you feel like the law enforcement is still a viable and exciting role that, would you do it differently if you had a chance going back?
If I was getting into it right now, I guess I can't speak to it entirely because I'm not in that position, but I can say that it is starting to get better. In areas like this, we have a lot of support from the community, especially St. Croix Falls here. I mean, from what I can tell and from what I hear and what I see, community absolutely loves us. There's always a few people that, have second thoughts about law enforcement. They might have had a bad experience in the past or just kind of grew up that way, which is fine. Everybody has their opinion. People don't need to like us, but no, I would definitely encourage them to continue in it. It seems like every 5 to 7 years we have this up and down of law enforcement. People like us, people don't like us. It's like anything else, and like you said, there's 99.9% of officers are kind and they want to do the right thing. But just like every other career, there's bad apples. There's people that don't do the right thing and they're bad officers. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
There are some bad police officers out there.
Well, I definitely think there's people who should not be in all kinds of roles, whether it's the CEO, there are people that just are not the right fit for that. Maybe they're just too bossy and people don't like them, and they probably would be better off in a different job. And with law enforcement or fire, as a firefighter, I've seen firefighters that don't have the temperament to handle those stressful situations. And so they seem really normal until there's a fire, and then they freak out. And, maybe that's not the right field for you. You need to be calm under pressure. And same thing with law enforcement. There's definitely probably officers that should retire. But there is a beautiful opportunity for officers, whether it's in Polk County at the Sheriff's Department or probably any one of our local police departments would have an opening, just because there's so few people that have been going in the last year. And so if you're looking for going into law enforcement, consider joining up with a department. Many departments will sponsor you through, and I can't speak for everybody, but they'll sponsor you through the academy and help you get through it, and then you can come work for that department, and they will help pay the way for it, and then I think the state reimburses them if you graduate, when you graduate. But then you get to work and live and play in a place like St. Croix Falls, where we have, a beautiful river. We have, lots of fun things to do. Your family can enjoy the amazing area here and avoid the cities if you don't want to go down to the cities. Or if you're super excited about urban work, you could go work for Minneapolis.
Absolutely. You
get paid better, but you also have to deal with the city, and there's a lot of differences between that.
If you're someone that loves doing stuff all day long, never stopping, I mean, some people love that, and that's perfect for them, and that's usually where they gravitate towards. But I mean, what other job can you, like we have our interstate park here, what other job can you have that you just, besides a park ranger, can you drive around and just view all the scenery?
Yeah.
And
on your day off, so you can go and enjoy the scenery. You can be an avid fisherman, or really get into hiking or kayaking or whatever it is, and that's a great place to raise a family. So I won't get into your family too much, but you're married. Your wife, she is.
She's in law enforcement as well.
Oh, she is.
She is. Yeah.
She is. Okay, so you got a spouse that's a law enforcement too.
Yeah.
Is that how you met, or?
Yeah. We actually did meet in our police academy, which I don't recommend you guys doing because it's a little stressful having your fiance, with you during a police academy. But no, it was enjoyable, and we both have the same career, which helps. I guess both the emotional side and the stress side of understanding each other, kind of what the day in day outs are like, and
sure.
kind of when you tell your stories, you know, they understand it, you know, fully, whereas someone who doesn't know what you do on the day-to-day or understand the processes of stuff might not find something funny that you find funny, or might find something offensive that you don't find offensive, and you know, so it helps with that, and you know, we both enjoy our job, and so.
Wow. Okay, that's something I didn't know. So that's really cool. So, your parents, did they have any apprehension into you getting into law enforcement? Were they like, "Hey, man, that's really a dangerous gig," or were they like, "Yeah, that's awesome"?
No, not really. They were very encouraging about it, and there hasn't really been too many in my family that I even know of in the past that were in law enforcement. So I was kind of one of the first in many years to get into it. And you know, to those that are, you know, watching, that are thinking about getting into it, I mean, if there's anywhere you ever wanted to work, I mean, everyone's hiring. You know,
Yeah.
so I mean, now would be the time.
Right.
Because me personally, when I got in, the word sponsored was few and far between. If you got
Yeah, yeah.
sponsored, you were the top of the top. Everyone wanted you. I think there was one person sponsored at my academy, and now I'm hearing that almost everybody throughout a police academy is sponsored now. And you know, when I got in, I was working 4 part-time jobs at first, and you know, just cut myself few and far between with hours and everything else, trying to just build myself up to the point where people would recognize me and say, "You want to take that guy on full-time," whereas now you get a full-time job right out of school.
Nice.
You know, it's not so much of a struggle anymore.
Right.
So for people to get into it, you know, now's the time. You know, there's a season for every kind of career, and now's the season for abundance and jobs and pay and everything else like that, just because it's not desirable. So
Sure.
everywhere is looking.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. I know my wife is a school teacher by trade. We homeschool our kids, and so she's not currently working at a school. But when she got out of college, there were no openings for a teacher. She did a lot of those part-time gigs where she'd fill in for teachers on maternity leave or whatever like that. And right now, there's lots of openings for teachers, and so there's this ebb and flow as people retire, or as you know, COVID, I think, opened the door for a lot of people to say, I think I'm going to retire early.
Yep, 100%.
A lot of law enforcement retired early, a lot of teachers. And so that door is now open for people who might want to get into a variety of fields. So your experience then in law enforcement, my last guest on my show was, we talked about the dark parts of dealing with, he's a firefighter and a teacher, and we talked a little bit about, like, you know, how do you deal with the stress of being in these roles where you see things that normal people probably aren't going to see or supposed to see. Like, you're going to see, you know, families in crisis. You might see car accidents. I know I see car accidents where people might be really injured or die. You might see people that have been murdered. We deal with it in a variety of different ways. As a police officer, you also have the added stress that you wear a badge and a bulletproof vest and a gun, and you go into tough situations. As a firefighter, I let you go in first, and you secure the scene, and then I come in when everything's supposedly safe.
But you do go in the burning building.
But
so.
I do get to go in burning buildings. So
I wouldn't do that. So
you
we'll
know, but that's the reality. Like, if you're in the field for 25 years, you're going to see some tough things, and you personally, you've known personally officers that have been injured and killed in the line of duty. So just on that level, how do you deal with the stress of being a law enforcement officer in a world that is not super safe all the time? I mean, we take it for granted here that, like, it's pretty safe here.
Yeah, it can be easy to become complacent in a spot like this. Obviously, you know, I've had my fair share of dangerous and not so great individuals, and and incidents. But for the most part, this area is pretty quiet, pretty calm. The people here are good. It's the passerbys that we kind of have to worry about. But me personally, I guess I don't have like the specifics of how I deal with it. I guess in a way, just kind of shove it down in a healthy way, you know, just kind of block it out, you know, this is your job, you know, just gotta go through it and try and picture the end result of, you know, what I'm doing right now is going to make a difference on somebody's life, you know, in a positive way, you know, and try and look at it that way, just to try and calm yourself about the situation, I guess. You know, for taking my mind off of stuff, you know, I tinker with stuff and, you know, work on stuff like that, you know, like mechanic stuff like that, small engines, you know, it's just, that's kind of my relief, you know.
Can you come over and help me fix my lawnmower?
Yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah. I'll get right on that once we're done.
Is it fair to say that because your wife and you share common field that you're able to have conversations about like your day-to-day stuff, and that's not going to freak her out?
It can. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, you know, because I mean, on one side you might have somebody who doesn't understand just as they're listening, and, you know, or on the other side where they know everything, you know, they might try and fix it or try and relate when they necessarily can't, you know. So, but I mean, for the most part, it's a good thing. But yeah, it's, I don't know, I don't have too much of a problem coping with it. Obviously, there's officers out there, like you said, that have 25, 35 years on experience that have seen more in a day than I've seen in my entire almost 4.5 years, you know. But no, I mean, it hasn't necessarily swayed my judgment at all of wanting to stay into the career. Yeah,
I know for me, my first like dead body where someone had passed away was natural causes, but that really, like, I was new and like worked at a desk and got into the volunteer firefighter thing, and so that threw me for a loop. Like, it took me a couple days to like get that image out of my head and all the things that go around that. For me, I had people at my department that were very happy to talk me through it and just say, hey, you know what, the normal thing to do here is just have conversations. And we talk about it until it gets out of our system. My wife is very good. I don't give a lot of detail on stuff because it's not always pleasant, but I am able to have conversations with her, and that's just kind of how I deal with things. So I think that's maybe the best way to do it. Let's see if you get back in focus. I don't know, he bumped the camera a bit.
He moves stuff around
a little. So anyway, I just think that law enforcement in general is a great career. I think that you guys are doing a great job. I love that I get to work in multiple ways with the police and the sheriff's department. As the mayor, I get to interact with officers all the time. I get to hang out with the chief. We, you know, talk about the budgeting and the technical stuff.
The fun stuff, right?
Yeah, the fun stuff. But that's a lot of fun. On the fire department, you guys have always got our back. You work nights, so I don't get to hang out too much with you, but you know, just every officer on the department I've had interactions with that have been super positive. And then, you know, being able to be in a community where truly the officers are appreciated, and I hope you feel that. It's been an honor to have you on the show. I do have a question from someone. Let's see if I can get you focused. There, now you're focused. Renee said, silly question, does Ikar sleep with you?
No, absolutely not. No, that's one thing I cannot stand is his animals in my bed. So no, he sleeps outside and I have my own bed, and nope, absolutely not. He does not sleep with me.
Oh, that's great.
Some handlers do that, and just not for me.
Yeah, our dog, I have a dog that would love to be a lap dog. It's a little too big, but not a fan of sleeping in the same bed.
I will say during training, I had to get a hotel room for a few nights. We had some overnights that we had to train. So obviously he was in my hotel room, and tried to get him up on the bed, and he seemed like he fell asleep. And around midnight, 1 o'clock, I woke up to him frantically jumping from one queen bed to the other, back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, nope, you're done. You're going in your kennel, and that's it. So that was my only experience of him sleeping in the same bed, and that was the last.
Well, that's great. Well, I appreciate you being on our show and just letting me introduce you to the community. Obviously, this is not just St. Croix Falls that this is shown to. It's much wider on Dryden Wire, but you know, to encourage individuals that might be interested in becoming a police officer to explore it. It's still a great field to get into. A lot of openings, whether you want to be in a canine officer position or a beat cop or a school resource officer. There's lots of different ways to engage in the community. And whatever we do, whether it's volunteering or being a teacher or a business person, do something to make a difference in the community. So on behalf of Dryden Wire and the Kirk Anderson Show, thanks for being here. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you out on the streets. But thanks everyone for being here, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next show. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.